focus to the right. Now watch this turn. Indicator left, down the slope. What a shot. What a shot. Is it? Oh, would you believe that? Rory McIlroy. What a round of golf. It's one outside the Augusta course record.
Than I anticipated. Oh man, what a shot! I'd say that's pretty good. Whoa!
Yes, golf fans, welcome back to Putting for Dough. Jack, it's been too long. The fall swing is behind us, mate. But we're back. Season is back.
Season 3, yeah, we are back, and we are missing Mark tonight, but he will be back hopefully next week when he'll say proper golf starts, because it'll be a cut event next week. So, but yeah. Looking forward to it, Nick. I had a very successful full season. I hit 4 outright winners on the full swing there. I had a 100-1 winner with Camilo Villegas at one of the full swing events. So, yeah, I had a very, very good full swing. But I'm looking forward to kicking off proper DFS again, and getting away from NFL, especially after the news that come out today with all these quarterbacks. So I'm quite looking forward to getting back to my favourite DFS sport.
Yeah, and favourite sport in general, Jack, for us both. I think golf rivaled for us both.
Yeah.
But it was nice to see you hit on Camilo Villegas, because we had that running joke earlier in the season about just plugging him into lineups at sub 7K. Nice that you actually got the return on him there. And Jack, the actual start video to this, I'm going to have to get fixed for next week, because we've had a nice little rebrand for anyone that's on the socials and follows us. We've got a nice little new logo courtesy of you. You've made that. And there's a lot that's happened over this past golf season, and I think we need to get some of that stuff on this this video. Not least a Ryder Cup win for Team Europe, but there's been a lot of good stuff that happened over the course of the season as well. And some really important things that it would be a bit remiss of us not to talk about them, because they are important and it does impact golf in general, but also the PGA Tour and of course the Live Tour. So we'll start on the biggest news that happened recently was Jon Rahm switching from the PGA Tour to Live Golf. And then I guess from there, Jack, we'll move on to the second biggest subject of the golf season recently. But yeah, thoughts on the Jon Rahm move and how that'll impact golf. What you think of it?
I've made my feelings clear on Live and things like that in the past. I don't blame anyone for taking the money. We'd all do it, and if I've said it before, if people say that they wouldn't, they're lying to themselves. You would. Anyone would. It's incredible the amount of money that he's been given in that contract. I think it's 500 million, something like that. I think he's done the right thing for himself. I think obviously the tours are gonna. I think they'll merge by the end of 2024. I would say. So that by the end of this year, I think the two tours will merge back together in some capacity. I don't know how that'll look, but I do believe that they'll come back together. So he's took the bag, and I don't blame him. Like people can go on about the money, where it comes from, and We'd all do the same. I'm sorry, like I don't care. I do. The only thing I would say is I do wish these players would just come out and say, like Harold Varner did when he went, and just say, "I've gone for the money." Like, that's the only thing I do wish. That have they really gone to grow the game? Live obviously is a bit more of a world tour compared to the PGA Tour. I can see John Rahm wanting to do that because he wants to sort of follow in the footsteps of Seve Ballesteros, trying to bring more golf to Spain, for example. One of the live scheduled events is in Valderrama in Spain. So yeah, I can see why he's done it more than others have done it. I do think Tony Finau is going to go. I've seen that one does make me laugh. We've seen that on Twitter. Tony Finau's turned it down. What a good soul he is. Yeah, he's turned it down. But I actually looked at Tony Finau's schedule. He's been very clever with what he's done here. It reminds me of when Cameron Smith went to live. Cameron Smith, because a lot of people think Cameron Smith went and played live straight after the Open Championship that he won. He didn't. He actually played the Tour Championship right at the end of the PGA Tour season, which is obviously the highest purse on the PGA Tour that you can get. So I've looked into Finau's schedule a little bit, and I think he wants to go back to Mexico to defend his Mexico Open title, which has been moved up in the schedule this year. And I do believe he'll play those first sort of few elevated events to get the money. And then I think he's going to go. So it's very clever what they're all doing. Obviously, we all know they're doing it for the money, and I just don't blame them. I just wish that they would say that they're doing it for the money rather than giving us all the spiel. But, it is what it is. And like I said, I believe the two tours will merge by the end of this year anyway.
Yeah, I'm with you, and it felt like there was a lot of smoke screen last year with the players that went over, using the excuse that they did want to grow the game. I know Westwood and Poulter had said it in a few interviews, and Mickelson and stuff like that. And there's nothing wrong with that either. Like you've just said it, if you want to go and it's for the money, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Golf's a really difficult game. It's like I know Rory's been quite outspoken, and I know you're not a big Rory fan, Jack, but he came out today and said he was maybe a little bit hasty on his thoughts and his views on it. Whether you like him or not, that what he has actually said today is right. The people that have gone to live and have gone for money, which I would say probably 90% of the players that are there have, you can't really blame them for that, because if you have all those players on the PGA Tour is so competitive and so difficult to win on the tour. Rory McIlroy hasn't won a major since, what is it, 2000 and...
It's 10 years. It's 10 years this year.
2012, 2020, 2013, something like that, 2014.
Yeah.
But, that's just a major. There's some players that win one tour event in the career. There's some players that don't win a tour event at all. It's a difficult sport. It's difficult to make a lot of money. You only need to watch, that Full Swing documentary from last year, and Joel Damon, I think his episode was, I think, one of the best ones on there, because it feels like his mentality on the tour is like really close to almost like club golfer mentality, where he's like, do you know what, this is really difficult, and I'm using all my money and stuff to fly out to this place and stay in this place, to try and win these tournaments and to try and qualify for tournaments so that you can win more, and you're increasing your opportunity. It is tough to win. So like you said, a bit more transparency from the golfers that have gone and actually just come out and say, listen, and Saudi Arabia have branched out into a lot of other sports. Like you said, Jack, the F1, football, the boxing. Golf, it's becoming so prominent in sports. There's international tournaments are going to be held there, like I think the World Cup in the future and stuff like that. It's something like 2034, is it?
2034. It's being held in Saudi Arabia. Yeah.
Like the money's there, it isn't going anywhere, and they're going to keep investing into these sports. And, regardless of your views, You kind of got to accept that that's there now, and it's probably not going away. So, like you said, a little bit more transparency wouldn't go amiss, but I do understand why people jump. And do you know what? If I was John Ram, I would jump as well for 5.
I am genuinely gutted that he's gone, because he is my. I mean, you know how much I loved him last year. He was my favourite golfer on the PGA Tour, and I think he's the best golfer on planet Earth. To be honest, I know Scheffler went on a ridiculous run with stat wise last year. Obviously, he didn't get as many wins as the stats. It proved like he probably should have got more wins for the stats that he had. To be fair, but for me, John Rahm is the best golfer on planet Earth. And he was dominant last year, absolutely dominant. He was, for me, alongside Hovland, the two best players for Europe at the Ryder Cup. I know Rory did have a good Ryder Cup, and I will give him credit. He did have a very good Ryder Cup, but for me, alongside Hovland, Rahm and Hovland were the stars of Team Europe for me. So yeah, I am genuinely gutted, because I do watch some of the live events. I don't watch them all. I wouldn't say I'm a massive fan of the format as such. I'm not really into the team golf aspect of it at the minute. I might change my mind down the line. But yeah, I enjoy some of what the live guys are doing. Like I've watched a lot of Bryson's stuff over the off season on YouTube and things. I actually enjoy what Bryson does on YouTube, which he's been allowed to do via live. So that's all great. But yeah, I am generally gutted that I'm not going to be able to play John Rahm much in DFS this season and not get to watch him at some of my favourite golf courses, like especially early on in the season. I love Torrey Pines. We're going to go there early in the season. I love Pebble Beach. He would have probably played that because it was it's an elevated event this year. So of course I love Augusta National. So we're going to see him there. But yeah, it's just it's disappointing not to see him on some of these golf courses that I absolutely love.
If nothing more, what it will do for me is probably grow my interest in live, because like you, I'm not a huge fan of the format. I don't really like no-cut events at all, really. But it's lesser so with live because there's only 3 days of golf rather than 4. So I do understand it, obviously, with the 54 holes. But to me, he is a needle mover.
Oh yes, yeah.
Like you said, like there's some people that I saw on the social media saying, what, the PGA Tour will be absolutely fine. This won't have the impact that a lot of people think. John Rahm doesn't hugely move the needle, but for me, he does, and I do want to watch him play golf along with some other players on live. Like I'm a big fan of Cam Smith's game, but he didn't move the needle as much as John Rahm did for me. Like Cam Smith going to live doesn't make me want to watch live golf. John Rahm going to live golf makes me want to watch live golf. And the only reason I've probably not been as invested in live golf is because we don't really get a lot of the stats like we do with the PGA Tour and the DP Tour. We don't really get a massive amount for live when they play those events. Now, that might change going forward, but that's also kind of swayed me away from the interest, because when I'm watching it, I like playing the DFS side of it as well. And I've not really played a lot of DFS for live because the metrics and the stats aren't there. I'm picking golfers more just based on kind of my opinion.
Based on, name recognition.
Yeah, almost name recognition. And like the courses and PGA courses, there's not always a huge amount of kind of information or course history there, because sometimes, these courses are fairly new to the schedule for a lot of these golfers. So you don't really have much in terms of course history, course fits and stuff like that. Obviously, fits based on the standard of that golfer and where the strengths in the game lie, whether that's putting, whether it's approach play, whether it's driving, whatever it might be. But yeah, that for me, it does increase my my interest in live golf this year.
Anyone that says he's not a needle mover needs to go back to when he made his debut in 2017. Look how many tournaments John Rahm has won. John Rahm's a generational talent, and I don't use that word often. Rory is a generational talent. I don't like Rory, but he is a generational talent. John Rahm is a generational talent. I believe Scotty Scheffler will become a generational talent. And maybe Victor Hovland down the line. But that's kind of it for me. Like those guys are the guys for golf for now. But yeah, you need to, if you really do need your head testing. If you're saying that he's not a needle mover, just go back and look what he's won since 2017. He has been absolutely dominant on the PGA Tour.
Yeah, I agree. The other big thing, Jack, and I'm still yet to massively read into this. Listen, I know you sent me a really good podcast, and you've kind of listened to both sides of the argument. Yeah. Because I know that I said to you on our chat that I was like, well, it's not really going to impact me and you because we're the kind of average golfers probably using a different ball to what these tour golfers are using anyway. And what we're generating in terms of swing speed and our contact won't be anywhere near as good as a pro player. So the difference we'll see in our golf may be not as significant as what the pros would see. However, the rollback, it seems, will impact everyone. But I want to hear your take on it, Jack, because listen to both sides of it, and I'm still kind of like not all that reading into it as it stands at the moment.
So I was firmly against any rollback before I listened to anything, and I haven't changed my mind. I'm still firmly against it. I believe there's other ways that you can make golf courses more challenging, i.e. grow the rough up. For example, that's just an example. Move bunkers so they're more strategic in places. And I think the key one for me, if you want to stop these guys absolutely bombing it, you decrease the head size of the drivers. And if you go back to like Jack Nicklaus's time and things, they were using wooden drivers, and the head size was extremely small. Like it was like 3 inch sort of, 3 inches long max. Like I believe that's the way you stop it if you think it's a major problem. And like you said, I've listened to both sides of it, and I've come away with it will affect the amateur game more than it will the professional game. Now, this is not coming into play until 2030 anyway, so it doesn't really affect us anytime soon. We've got a load of time to stock up on golf balls, Nick. But
yeah, well, my mate's a greenkeeper, so I've got 2 boxes full in the shed that just need a little cleaning.
So I actually think it's going to affect the amateur game more, because what these professionals will do is generate more power and more speed swing to counteract what the ball is actually going to do. Now, as an amateur, I mean, I do, I'm not bigging myself up here, but I hit the ball hard, like, and I've got quite a big swing speed. But it's nowhere near what some of these top guys are hitting it at on the PGA Tour. But what it's going to do, I think you'll notice it more. Like you're going to notice if you don't hit the ball 5 yards as long every time. Like the more you play, you're going to notice that as an amateur, and then that's going to take the fun out of golf away from you, I believe, because all of these golf courses have been increased to try and stop this problem that exists apparently. But yeah, I just firmly believe we're not going to be able to do that, what the professionals are doing, because one, we're not on the driving range every day working on stuff. We're at work. We have to go to work. This is what they do for a living. They can work on this, generate more power, more speed swing. So yeah, I actually think it's going to affect the amateur game more because we can't do that. And then I actually think it's going to have a negative impact on the amateur game where people start leaving golf because they can't get around the golf course, because these golf courses have been increased in size to try and counteract this problem. But I also believe where these golfers are going to try, these professional PGA Tour players, for example, are going to try and increase their speed swings, etc., etc. I think you're going to get more injuries.
Potentially shorter careers as well.
Yeah, I mean, look at Bryson DeChambeau. He's had to cut back down doing whatever he was doing like 2 or 3 years ago because it's not good on his body. And I've had it before. Like I said, I swing the ball, I swing the club hard. Like, I really do. And I've come off the golf course before in agony where my back's gone. I've gone for a lesson, and he's saying like, "You're doing this. You're like, you're doing. You need to slow this down." Like, but I've got it in my head. It's just in my head now. It's like riding a bike with golf. Like you get it in your head. So yeah, I think we're going to see more injuries at the professional level. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it. I think it's a bad idea. I actually don't think it's going to come into play effect anyway.
Yeah, I think. I mean, for your kind of your weekend golfer, like I play off the yellows, Jack. I don't know if you're off white tees, but I play off the yellow tees, and I could see it if it did come into play, and like you said, noticing that difference, and you do notice that. And that's not even just off your drive. That's per shot. That's each of your shots where you're kind of losing that distance as well. You're going to have some golfers potentially using clubs they might not like to use. You're also going to have like your longer approach shots where you're using longer irons and stuff like that. There's like so many different things it could do. You're potentially going to have your kind of weekend golfers then playing off red tees rather than yellow, because it's simply going to shorten the course a little bit more for them, and like you said, make the game a little bit more enjoyable. For the likes of me and you, I mean, you're a better golfer than I am, Jack, but it like for the likes of me and you, we'll make do. We invest money into lessons and stuff like that, but yeah, I can't see it coming into play either, to be honest, because as you said, there's just ways around, like we've seen when DeChambeau was absolutely spanking every course he was stepping onto almost, and making it almost unplayable for like other players were green in 2 and he was green in 1. And then you've got the likes of Rory increased his swing speed and changed his swing slightly because, like he said, I just wanted a bit more distance. And when he's asked why that is, he was like, well, because I can. Like, I can generate that speed. So kind of changed his game a little bit. And like you said, it's just look, other golfers will just follow suit. But what it will also mean is, like you said, more strain on your body. DeChambeau's also lost a lot of size. I don't know if you've noticed. Like he was massive at one point. He's had to size down, and he's admitted that as well. Like the way he swung a club was not sustainable at all for a prolonged golf career. Especially based on how he was built and the pressure and strain he must have been putting on his knees and his ankles. But yeah, hopefully it doesn't come into play. We're a long way away.
We're a long way away from it. Just for people out there, like Andy Lack has done 2 really good podcasts on this. There's a lot more data involved than what I can give you and things like that. I'm for both sides of the argument, and I'm not one of these people. If I've got an opinion, I'm stuck in my ways. My opinion's right. I will go and listen to both sides of it, and then I'll take it from there. And I didn't like it before, and I still don't like it from what I've listened to. I actually hate it even more, because I think it's going to affect the amateur game.
Yeah. But for now, the balls that you find in the trees and the bushes and stuff like that are safe and legal to use. So enjoy those with the initials scrawled on them or lines drawn all over them, whatever it might be.
I've got some here actually, Live Golf ones, Titleist Pro V1s. So they might be worth some money one day. You never know.
Maybe they will. Maybe they will. Especially if Live ceases to exist at some point.
Right. Exactly.
We are 25 minutes in, Jack. What we had planned was a 30 to 40-minute show, which I reckon probably won't be much longer than the 40. But let's actually talk some DFS. Before we do, please plug your tracker, because the season long doesn't start this week. It starts next week, I think, at the Sony.
Yeah, that's correct. So Bet365 FanTeam, we've got a new season-long golf contest out. It starts at the Sony Open, which is next Thursday. My tracker is available now. I'm still working on it, so bear with me. It will be completed in time, ready for the Sony Open, I assure you. But, there's a lot of data on there already. I've already got a few confirmed fields already on there. Nick, you've seen it. So it's increased in price a little bit this year. It's gone up to £7.50. £7.50. I've had to increase the price because
Cost of living.
Cost of living. No, yeah, cost of living. Just it's a labour of love. I've been up to 1 or 2 a.m. some nights working on it. I gave it away too cheap last year. Some people have said it's still too cheap, but I do try and keep it a reasonable price. But it's £7.50 this year. So please just hit me up on the X at JH4Do Media. And if you want it, I'll get you involved. And all the chat for that this year is on Discord. So yeah.
And I played that last year. You played it, Jack, and a lot of people. The chat was originally on Twitter, as it was known at the time, or X now, and like the updates were posted in there. There was a lot of chat between the people that were in there. I'm glad it's moved to Discord because it's got its own kind of designated space now, and you've created an area specifically for updates as well, which is good. If you want to talk.
There's a specific area, like you say, for updates, and then there's a specific tracker chat area. So if you want to chat, you can chat in there. I'm not one for tilting Scottish Scheffler bogey in the first hole on the first tee. I'm not one for that. But if that's your thing, you can do that. I will have that firmly muted. But there will be one for the updates.
You are definitely not a stop the count kind of player.
No.
So no, you don't like your victory lapping before the afternoon tea times have gone off on a Thursday. So it's good that it's now kind of separated because you've got all the updates in one place just in case you miss anything on the tracker, and you've got the chat as well and Discord. It's a good forum and a lot of things are on there nowadays. So I'm glad it's kind of moved to there. But the chat was really interactive. There was quite a few people in there, and I would say a high percentage of the chat that had entries, whether it was one or
I'd say like 85%. 85% of people in there cashed, easily cashed.
Easily. Yeah. So it's worth its weight in gold, really, because if nothing more, you're certainly going to be getting your entry fee back, and a lot of people cashed really well.
And no one does this. I've never ever seen anything like this. So.
No. It's niche. It's very niche, and because it's a lot of time investment as well from you, so it's definitely worth it.
Yep.
Let's talk Sentry then, Jack. So we're heading over to Maui.
Yeah, we're heading over to Maui, Hawaii, to the plantation course at Kapalua. It's a Bill Core and Ben Crenshaw design. It's a par 73 at 7,596 yards long. No water in play on this golf course. Bermuda everywhere, fairways, rough, greens. Good comp course for this place is probably Augusta National. Lots of undulations, and you'll hear that word quite a lot this week, I would have thought. Likely winning score here. This is a birdie fest, a putting contest. This is going to be about 27 under par this week. And there's no cut. We've just got 59 golfers here. Rory's decided to skip it again. Didn't play it last year, skips it last year. He's decided again that he must just hate Hawaii for some reason. So, don't know why. I do not know why. I'd be straight out there getting some sun. But 59 of the world's top golfers here. It's the only golf course on the PGA Tour that plays as a par 73. It's one of the longest golf courses on the tour. However, it may be a hard walk at times, but this is a gentle reintroduction to the PGA Tour for the golfers this week. Wide open fairways everywhere. You could be spraying it everywhere. That's where the Augusta National comp comes from as well. And it's only real defense. I'm sorry this is a bit boring this week, but it's only real defense is the weather, and it's in Hawaii.
Yeah, it's like at just shy of 7,600 yards. It is long on the surface, but it doesn't play like that, does it, Jack? With the run-ons,
no.
You find that a lot of people are hitting the second shots from exactly the same kind of places. got to be cautious of some of the run-ons because you can run a little bit too long and end up in the rough.
I think it's the first hole you can actually do that. I remember watching this last year. I believe the fairway sort of runs out about I think it was about 320 yards. I just remember everyone over killing it and ended up into the rough at the end of it.
Yeah.
So.
I think there's like, when you look at the longest drives of the season, there's a lot that happen at this course. And sometimes as well, like the people that are hitting those drives, when you look back, they're not like the longest drivers on the tour when you think of some of who those kind of players are. It's surprising to see some of the names, but it's because they're using those run-on areas. So like you said, nice, big, wide, generous fairways. And the greens are big here as well. Big greens.
They're slow as well. Big, massive greens. They're some of the biggest greens on the PGA Tour, but they're slow, very slow Bermuda greens here.
Yeah. Not going to ask you every single stat in your model, Jack, because that's the old way that we used to do things. But just want to know what some of your key metric considerations are and what are your reasons why.
So straight gained approach, unsurprisingly, that's always. I think we use that on probably 90% of these golf courses. Capella is a second shot golf course. Really, you're not going to win it if you can drive the ball 380 yards. You're going to win it if you're an awesome iron player. Stick it in close. That's how you need to make birdies here. I've got strokes gained putting on Bermuda. This is going to be a birdie and eagle fest. You need to make everything once you get on these greens. Lots of, I think there's 4 par 5s on this golf course. Yeah, 4 par 5s. So you want to be getting in there for eagle chances. So, you're going to have to putt well this week to win this. I believe John Rahm finished like 11 under par on the Sunday last year when he went on to win this. So, you need to get hot with a putter. Other things I'm considering, a birdies are better. We always, so if it's a birdie fest, it's kind of something you want to look at. I've got the proximity bucket of 200 plus yards. You do get a couple of like the longish second shots in here on some of the par 5s. Like I say, if you can take advantage of them, then you're gonna do well this week. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. I'm actually, my model is relatively small this week. I'm now working on 2 years of data with models, so I'm quite. I got John Rahm the winner here last year, so I'm quite happy with the model how I had it last year.
Yeah, quite basic for me as well, and I'm playing it exactly the same as you. I'm not really too fussed about driving distance. I like a little bit of accuracy off the tee, but it's mainly, like you said, a second shot golf course. I'm looking at the players who are good approach players or are strong wedge players this week here. Anything kind of 100, 125, 150. The reason for that, despite the greens being large, this course, I guess, on any course where the greens are large, you want to be in the right areas on the greens, because the larger the greens, the more kind of areas that you might find where you want a realistic putt. And if you got a large green, sometimes you're dealing with that undulation on the green. Sometimes you're not in the right kind of section on the green. Based on where the pin placement is. Whereas on the smaller greens, you don't have as much of that. So for me, putting is important, but that approach shot in is obviously, I want the players where there's kind of like, they're in the right kind of spots on the green. And like you said, those greens are fairly slow. So yeah, the kind of players who tend to put well on Bermuda or slower greens, certainly in my considerations as well this week, but nothing too extensive beyond that. In the model, one thing for me, because it is a no-cut event, I'm willing to take a little bit more of a chance on this kind of course. And what I mean by that is, normally I like to build fairly balanced, so I don't really like plugging in too many guys that are too low priced. If I'm building a lineup where my cheapest guy is in the kind of 6.5k to 7.5k range. I don't really want two of those unless there's someone who glaringly sticks out as an obvious pick, as someone who's been underpriced. But I'm happy to take a little bit of a risk and play a couple of those guys, even in the 6k range in this event this week, because I think there is a couple of guys that have been priced down there that tick some of those boxes, of which we may speak about. But that's then going to allow you to play some of these guys at the top, and don't be put off by ownership, I think, this week, because there's a few of the players that are attracting similar kind of high ownership, and I think you can get different elsewhere in your lineup. Just play them. Don't be afraid of the chalk this week at this golf course. So last year when we did this, Jack, we went through literally every single kind of bracket of price. On these things. And we just talked about each single bracket. We don't want to do that because we put out enough content with the newsletters and talk about it on socials. But what we did want to do is just maybe give a little bit of a core of who are 3 players who we really like, no matter what the price, and who are we liking the look of in the bargain bin, shall we call it? So anyone kind of sub 7k. And these are guys, we're not just saying it, these are guys that will, they're going to be core kind of players. They're going to be in our lineups. But yeah, who are your 3 players at any price range, first of all?
Well, I did put the newsletter out already. So I'm playing the now the best golfer on the PGA Tour. Now Jon Rahm's gone. Scotty Scheffler at the top. Like you say, I think I'm not really overly bothered about ownership. I would just get different elsewhere. I did this a lot last year. I just kept playing Jon Rahm everywhere. He's the highest owned. I just get different elsewhere. It works out very well last year. I'm going to do the same thing this year. The stats were off planet Earth last year for Scotty Scheffler. If he just gained a stroke putting, he would have won about 10 events last year. Absolutely ridiculous run. He had 14 top 10 finishes last year and 2 wins. The last time I saw Scheffler, I've been watching golf. So the last time I saw him was at the Hero World Challenge. That's Tiger's event in the full swing. He won. He won the event. He gained nearly 11 strokes tee to green. He gained 1 stroke putting. He's got a new putting coach now, apparently, as well. And he won it. He was very clear. I think he ran away with about 5 shots in the end. Clear winner there. And what we also found last year with these top guys, the ownership sort of condensed with each other. Now, I've got it currently, Nick, with Victor Hovland looking like the highest owned in this sort of 10k, top of the 9k range. I do think they're just going to. There's not a lot. There's like 1% difference in between them all. I do think they'll just condense each other at the top eventually. But I'm just going to play the best golfer in the field, and it's Scotty Scheffler. Easily for me. The newsletter's already out. He's the golfers I play. I put in the newsletter are the golfers I play. I do not. I will share my lineup with you after lock. I play these golfers. So Scotty Scheffler, absolutely incredible player. So he's number 1 in. And this is where I'm going to get different now. Everyone's going to go to Colin Morikawa in the 9k range. I've bet Morikawa, so I won't play him in DFS, but I'm going to play Max Homa up here. I'm expecting a big jump from Max Homa this year, and every time he's played this course, he's got better each time. Finishing T25, T15, and T3 last year. For me, I don't know if you watched. I take it you watched a ton of the Ryder Cup like me, Nick, but he was the standout for that awful USA team at the Ryder Cup. Max Homa, I thought he played very well. Really got them up for it. He then went to the Hero World Challenge. He had a T13 there, and then he went over to South Africa to play on the DP World Tour, and he won. So I'm expecting a big jump from him. He ranked 9th on the PGA Tour last year in birdies averaged, and he's going to need to make some birdies here. He normally starts these sort of early season PGA Tour events well. So he's number 2 within my core this week. And that also gets me off the Morikawa chalk in this range, and that's where I've got different within my lineup. And then I'm going to reach some 7K chalk, although I still think the 7K chalk will condense itself a bit as well. But I'm going to play Cam Davis, and I think I went a year early on Cam Davis last year. I don't know if you remember, Nick, he had a bit of an injury start to the season. We were playing him a lot, and we were like, "What is up with this guy? Like, he's so talented." And lots of injuries. I think there might have been a couple of withdrawals in there. There's lots of like really bad rounds where he was like 8 over par and things like that. But I'm firmly back in on him this season. It's probably partly due to his impressive outings in the fall, where he finished solo third, T7 and T12. He's been doing a lot of the damage with the par, which is great for here. He's gained over 11 strokes over the past 2 events with the flat stick alone. So that's a great sign coming here. Aussies tend to do well here. We've seen Cameron Smith obviously won here. Adam Scott's had good performances here as well. So yeah, they seem to do well here. Davis is a bomber as well off the tee, and he's all round skill set. Should suit this place well. He also finished T10 here last year in 2021. Sorry, on debut. So I like Cam Davis quite a lot. But yeah, Scotty Scheffler was number 1 player in my model this week, Nick. Max Homer's number 4, and Cam Davis is number 9 in my model this week.
Yeah, I am going slightly different to you, Jack. I know you've swerved the Morikawa chalk, but I'm actually going to eat the Morikawa chalk. And I think the ownership, like you said, you can't. I don't think you can read too much into the ownership predictions right now, because they will condense. The Morikawa, I think, at the moment predicted around 30% ownership, but so are the likes of Scheffler, Hovland, and then Schauffele and Cantlay aren't too far behind. What does attract me to Max Homer, the pick that you said, is he does seem like the lower owned leverage off some of those top guys.
Yeah.
But I think the reason that I'm happy to eat the Morikawa chalk is because of the discount that you're getting on him. 9,100, really nice price. Not taking too much form into account this week, because though we've seen a couple of runouts recently, like you said, at the Hero. A couple of guys have played DP Tour events in kind of November time. I am not reading too much into the form, and instead, like, course history I'm looking at a little bit here, because there are some golfers that just literally come back year in, year out and seemingly do really well at this course. And Colin Morikawa is one of them. He hasn't finished outside of the top 7 in the last 4 years. So despite what looks like high ownership at the moment, I'm happy to play him.
I will play him in cash. I'm gonna. He's a lock for me in cash. So that's just I'm purely going on a GPP lineup, and I'm expecting a big jump from Max Homer this year.
Yeah, and I really like the Homer pick. So I'm tempted to just go Max Homer and Morikawa, because one thing I'm looking at doing this week is, as I've just said, is the way I'm going to probably build my lineup is play a couple of the cheaper guys in the sub 7K range. I like Tom Kim as well. I think he had that spell of poor form last year where he had the injury. Was it an ankle injury that he had?
He did. You just mentioned poor form. I'm going to liken this, and it might be unfair on me, and he'll probably go on a win this week now. But I actually think Ludwig Aberg is going to suffer from what Tom Kim suffered with last year. There was a lot of expectation on Tom Kim. I mean, I when I saw him the year before, I was like comparing him to Tiger Woods. He was absolutely amazing, and then he started last year badly. Obviously, picked it up towards the end of the season, but I'm a bit worried that Aberg might sort of have that the kind of, it's the year after the rookie year slump, so to speak, to start the season. Aberg's very highly owned this week as well for someone that's never played this golf course.
Yeah. And that could well happen. I know Tom Kim started last season fairly poor, missed a few cuts, but he did carry the injury as well. But he's played good golf since kind of around June, July time. His putter's very hot as well. Not lost stroke since the Rocket Mortgage Classic back in July. We know that he's strong with his irons, strong wedge player. Not a massive amount of course history here because obviously he's not been on the PGA Tour all that long, Tom Kim, but he did come fifth in this event last year, so I did like that as well. But then I'm liking some of the names I'm seeing in that bargain bucket, Jack. I like, like Tom Hoagie there's certainly not really much to go off in terms of form. His ownership's looking quite low, but I'm seeing a lot of traction on Tom Hoagie. He did come third in this last year, but I think because it is such a forgiving course, like Tom Hoagie has an elite skill set in that he is a very good kind of wedge player. Anything within 150, very good.
Yeah.
And despite the fact that there's not a massive amount of form there, or there might be some areas of his game where he's a bit weaker, the fact that he does have that elite skill set, I'm kind of drawn to him this week at 6-7, and he does offer reasonable length off the tee as well. Though that's not all that important this week, but it's again it's not a bad fit for the course. Chris Kirk as well won on tour last year. Another really good approach player. His putting can be up and down, but he's like a really steady player, Chris Kirk, and he's one of them players where once he gets into a bit of a rhythm, he can score well. So I think the way I'm liking my lineup builds at the moment is I'm looking at fading the top 4 price guys and just going Home and Morikawa, Tom Kim, potentially a couple of the bargain bucket guys, and then I'm a little bit undecided on who my last one is. I kind of like, given that there's no cut and the scoring's important, part of me is saying just go and throw Thigala into your lineup because we know how hot he can get.
And his weakness won't really matter here. He sprays it everywhere off the tee, and that's just not going to matter here.
Yeah, and that's like I'm kind of almost thinking play Jordan Spieth because his erraticness off the tee won't matter, but then his erraticness with the putting probably will. So I'm just kind of thinking at the moment, Thigala on a no-cut event is like that is prime kind of Thigala territory. Just put him in and enjoy the scoring, enjoy the birdies.
Yeah, a couple of down in that 6K range. I like Luke List and Akshay Bhatia right down at the 6.2K range. I know we've made jokes about Luke List in the past, but he had a very, very good full swing. 4 top 25 finishes and a win at the Sanderson Farm Championship. The issues with the putter that he's had over the years seem to have gone away. He's gained strokes with the flat stick ever since the Scottish Open, and that was back in the end of July. So he seems to have found something with the flat stick, which was a worry with him. And he was 11th here on debut last year as well. So I don't mind Luke List down there at the 6.2 range. And Akshay Bhatia, I know he's a rookie at this place. He's never seen this place before, but he seems to thrive on these coastal tracks. T4 in Mexico on the coast, second place finish in Puerto Rico, and a win at the Barracuda Championship, all coastal tracks. So he might be a debutant here, but I think he should be on your radar, Akshay Bhatia.
Yeah, I agree. He's on mine as well. And what is pleasing is we're one show into the new season, and I'm not the first person to mention Luke List. So I'm taking that to the bank this week. No, but the names we talked about there, Jack, all the kind of names that I've been looking at myself. So looking forward to
the best DFS sport. The best DFS sport is back. I'm so happy.
It is the best DFS sport, and we will be covering it every week like we did last season, all the way right through to around August, September time again. And yeah, good to be back. Thank you for anyone who has joined us this evening, because there's a fantastic final going on in the darts. For anyone that's watching me kind of look over to my left here, I have got the darts on my iPad, so I'm keeping an eye on it. So thank you for anyone that is joining us. for anyone who listens back, hope you enjoy the show. Good luck this weekend. Where can the listeners find you, Jack?
You can find me at JH4Do Media. The show is PFD Show on the X. The newsletter was out last night. You can go over. That's free to sign up. Get this course preview in there, stats, weather, tee times, my core, the 66ers, bets, you name it. It's all in there. So head on over. It's completely free to sign up to that. Go and get involved in that. Hit your inboxes. And if you want the tracker, DM me on X at JH4Do Media.
Excellent. You can find me at Nick of Wigan. And that is pretty much it. Hopefully we'll have Mark back as well again soon. We'll have that 3-ball going on. But yeah, cheers for tuning in. Cheers for listening back or watching back. Good luck this weekend. And we will see you next Tuesday, probably, Jack.
Yep, we will. Next Tuesday for the Sony Open.
There we go. See you next Tuesday.